Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to be doing a handover video on this Geist Touring 65. What I will do is I'll start under the bonnet and then work my way around the outside and then show you right the way through the inside as well. So, nice and tidy under the bonnet. Over on the left hand side we've got your battery, your starter battery that is, that's your engine battery. We've then got your brake fluid, it's actually the servo just behind that. Power steering fluid here at the front. Engine oil gets topped up through this cap here at the top. And you've got a engine oil dipstick here with the red top. Paint code for this particular van is Fiat 249. All right, so you can, any touch-up paints you might want, Fiat 249 for that. Engine coolant goes in through this reservoir here. You've got some fuses and relays inside this box just here at the front. Air filter sits inside this box up here. And then your washer fluid gets topped up through here. So, on the front near side, sorry, that's just the door opening up in the office. Front near side here, we've got your diesel filling point. So, you will need your ignition key to get that to open up. So the first thing we get to on the near side of the van is your electric hookup point, which you can see I've got plugged in at the moment. So having your electric hookup plugged in is something that's really, really handy. So all the time that you've got the electric hookup plugged in, you don't have to worry about your leisure battery voltage. Everything's kind of taken care of by the charger. So essentially, you don't have to worry about any voltages, and you can use any of your mains powered appliances, mains powered sockets, all that sort of stuff as well. Next door to that, we've got your freshwater filling point. So the freshwater filling point is this one over here. This little socket here is basically for if you've got an external water pump that you want to drop into a tank to fill this tank up, you can plug it in here. So that is an external 12-volt point for an external pump to fill up your fresh tank. You obviously don't have to use the external pump. It's just there as an option. If you've got a hose or something like that, or a watering can, that is the easier way to fill these up. To the right of that, we've got this vent just here, which is, well, these two here are basically just vents for the back of the oven. The boiler itself sits over on the other side, so this isn't actually a vent for that, but it does say Truma on it. But yeah, that's more to do with the cooker and all that sort of stuff just there. I'll show you around on the other side in a minute. You should have another vent. If I just double check, yeah. So you got this vent just here at the back. This is the one that's actually for the boiler. So if you wanted to double check that the boiler was definitely working, you put your hand underneath this vent here at the back, and then you feel warm air pumping out through that. So, the toilet cassette locker is this one just here. This is a Thetford toilet cassette. So to remove the cassette, you lift up on the little yellow tab here at the bottom, and then pull the cassette towards you. You can then, once you've got it to this position here, you'll be able to take it all the way out. Okay, and basically, all you need to know from there is you twist this open. A little bit stiff, but it's okay. Twist this open and undo this little cap. So this cap is where you actually drain it from. When you're draining it out, you need to hold down the little yellow button there at the back. Once you finish draining it out, you put a cap's worth of blue fluid back inside, give it a little swoosh around, and then push this all the way back in until it clicks like you just heard. And that's it. That is all you have to do for the toilet cassette. So on the back of the van, you have got the original mounting points for a bike rack if you wanted to fit a bike rack, super easy. And a newly fitted 2-camera reversing camera there. So you've got one camera that looks straight down and one camera that looks straight back. So you've got the option of, on the actual screen in the cab, you've got the option of seeing straight behind you or straight down for reversing. So the first locker we get to on the offside is the gas locker. So you've got 2 refillable bottles in here. So you've got one on the left-hand side, one on the right, both the same size. I was going to say that one was one size, one was the other, but they're both the same size. So all you need to do, or all you need to know about this, to be honest, is that you turn the bottles on by going anti-clockwise around to the left all the way. So you do that on both of those to get them to come on. And then once you've done that, that is literally all you have to do. You don't have to press any other buttons. You don't have to do anything else. That is it. That is the gas on. The actual regulator at the back just here has got a testing point here, but that's just for our testing purposes. You've got a little lever here, which you also don't want to press or move. And you've got your changeover valve up here. So if you want to switch between bottles, you can just twist this here and switch between the two. To refill these bottles, you've got a little cap underneath here, which is your gas low refilling point. So this is the one that says auto gas on it. So any petrol station that has auto gas or LPG written on the sign will allow you to fill up these tanks. You have got a little gauge on the top of each one telling you how much gas is in each. I will say that where it looks at the moment, it sort of almost looks like it's full. It's actually empty because I think these are new bottles that we might have fitted. So you will need to fill them right up, but there you go. So put this cap back on. You will need as well, just in case you didn't realise, if you're going to go abroad, if you're going to go to France or Italy or Spain or wherever, they've all got their own adapters for these. So you will need to purchase some international adapters if you are going to go to any other countries. But at the moment, where it is now, this little thing down here is the UK one. So anywhere in the UK, this will be the right fitting. So the next locker along, I haven't got it open because it is literally just storage for underneath the bed. So there's nothing for me to show you in there. It's literally just storage space. These two vents just here are both to do with your fridge. So if you had the fridge lit up on gas, which I do at the moment, you will feel hot air coming out through this top right-hand side. So I can right now, I can feel nice warm air coming out through there. And that basically just tells me that the gas is definitely on and working. This one here is basically just access to the burner and stuff like that, so you shouldn't need any access to that. But I just thought I'd show you that's where they are. Down here is your this is your external gas point. So if you wanted to use your external gas underneath your awning, so like an external barbecue point, as long as your gas is turned on in the locker there, you should have gas coming through that point there. Just have a little look underneath, make sure I've not missed anything. Okay, so I was just trying to look to see if I could find the wastewater drain off point. So the waste drain is just down here. So if you want to drain out your wastewater, you've got this handle just here. Twist this and it will basically just drain all of the water out through this point here. If you find that the water isn't coming out very easily, you can pull this little thing down and it will drop down to the floor to allow it to come out a little bit more flat. So, just going to jump in the van now. So, the van itself is a really nice layout. It's becoming a super popular layout nowadays, where you've got the two forward-facing seats with seat belts and a nice big table. You've then got this side seat here, so you've got a really nice big lounge, which can be converted into like a double bed. All right, well, it's more of a single bed really, but it's like a big single, small double, you know. So it can be made up really easily into that bed area. Both front seats will swivel round if you want them to. They will swivel all the way around, and so that obviously makes it an even bigger lounge here in the front. So that is sort of your sitting area. Towards the back, we've got the fixed French bed. Obviously this part will fold back over, but I've got it open so I can show you the boiler at the back. So yeah, you've got a nice big fixed French bed. TV can sit on here and pull out and turn around so you can see front or back. A really nice sized kitchen area actually here as well. So you've got the oven down here, 3 burner hob, hot and cold tap there, and the sink with the drainer. Cutlery drawer. This little thing here, just in case you didn't know, this is your bullfinch fitting for the external gas point. So this end, the silver part, plugs into the actual gas point itself, and you push it in and twist, And then you've got this little push fitting thing for a gas hose to go onto your barbecue. And by the looks of it, that is going to be your adapters for the gas flow thing, the refilling gas flow point. So have a little look through that and see what you got there. In the wardrobe, you've got stacks of paperwork in here for the vehicle. We always leave it in these brown folders. And then up towards the top here, we've got your, this is your solar controller. So because you've got solar panel up on the roof, this is basically going to be the thing telling you what's going on with the solar panel and your leisure battery. Okay, so at the moment, you probably can't see it like that. Just zoom in a little bit more. So it's telling us how many kilowatts are being put in. Don't need that one. Next one over, or the one after. So one of them's going to be telling us the voltage inside the battery, basically. So if we have a little see. So basically at the moment, because I've got the electric hookup plugged in, the solar panel's not really going to be doing anything at all because it doesn't need to. As soon as I unplug the battery, there you go, 14.2, that's our voltage at the moment. As soon as I unplug the hookup from there, the solar panel, if we were outside right now, the solar panel would start working a bit more. So the controller there will just do all of that sort of stuff automatically for you. This is your TV aerial. So you can loosen this little nut here off and then push this up and down and move it around if you want to get a decent signal for your telly. So that is all there. So what I'll do first, before I'll just sort of show you the layout there, but what I'll do first is run you through this, which is your control panel. So first things first, just above the control panel, we've got this little black thing here. This is the thermostat for your boiler. So the amount of times that I've seen it is unbelievable. Please, please don't press on this because you will break it and then it will look ugly forever. So just don't press on that. That is your thermostat for the boiler. And they're very brittle. So just below it is your control panel. So these control panels are unbelievably easy and straightforward. So you've got a main power switch on the left hand side. Literally press up for 12 volt on and down for 12 volt off. When I say 12 volt, I mean things like all of your lights, any ignition for anything that there might be. There probably isn't, to be honest, but so this is your main on and off switch here on the left. This one here that's illuminated yellow at the moment is telling us that the electric hookup is in and working. So if I unplug the hookup, that would go out. And if the hookup was plugged in but it wasn't working and the van wasn't receiving any power, this would also not be lit up. So that's your basically your sort of fail-safe way of double checking that the hookup is definitely in and working. To the right here, this little switch in the middle is your battery voltage indicator. So if I press up, it's showing us green, and that is for your leisure battery. And if I press down, still full power, and that's showing us from the engine battery. So I will say, obviously because we're hooked up on the mains, we're going to have full power anyway, so that's just sort of regardless. If you're not hooked up and you're sort of wild camping and you've got some lights on and you're using stuff in the back of the van, don't be surprised if it goes down into the yellow, like at all. Don't be surprised about that at all. What it'll be sort of roughly, it'll be about 10 volts for red, between 11 and 12 for yellow, and 12 and above for green, roughly. Okay, so if you're down into the yellow, that's a pretty normal battery rate. So don't start panicking. If it goes down to into the yellow, don't worry about it at all. If it goes down into the red, then you might want to think about starting the engine up for a while or plugging the hookup cable in. But because you've got that solar panel up on the roof, you shouldn't really get that problem anyway. To the right of that, we've then got your fresh and waste water levels. So I know that both of these tanks are empty at the moment because it's really cold outside and we've winterized it. So it won't show up anything on here. But if I pressed up, we would see the fresh water level on this gauge here. And if I press down, it would show us the waste. So that is the control panel. There's really nothing else to it other than that. So, to the right of the door just here, we've got, well, to the left of the door really when you walk in, you've got these two switches here. Now these are just literally light switches. If I just show you what they do, I've got this switch on the left hand side here actually does your awning light. Okay, so you can have the awning light on, which is just above the door. That's your entry light. The switch on the right does this light at the front, which is a nice LED bulb. Looks to me as if the entire van has been swapped out for LEDs, which is something so important to do on the motorhomes nowadays. Obviously, years ago, they weren't able to use the LED ones because they didn't exist really. But they use so much less power than the normal halogen bulbs. And it's something that I would recommend to everyone on the motorhome, really. So, the next thing I'll run you through is going to be the fridge. So, the fridge itself is super, super easy. This is kind of your industry standard Dometic fridge. Doesn't mean that it's cheap by any means. It's really, really not cheap. These are a pretty expensive fridge, but it really is the industry standard for pretty much every van I know about. So this is what you call a three-way fridge. The three different ways that it can get cold are gas, 240 volt electric, and 12 volt. So the gas at the moment is the one that I've got it selected on. And the reason I'm using gas is because before I started the video, I didn't have the hookup plugged in. I just plugged it in just before we started. So I chose gas because that was the only way that I could use it, because I didn't have the hookup plugged in. So I turned the gas on in the locker there, came through to the fridge and literally just selected gas. And what it will do is it will light up automatically for you. The next one down will also work because we've now got the electric hookup plugged in. So we've got gas and mains electric. So those two, I can use either of those now because I've got the mains plugged in and I've got the gas on. Now I will say that if you are hooked up on the mains, I would recommend using the mains. The power's there already. It only draws about an amp or even less than an amp. And it will just get the fridge cold fairly quickly. And that's all, you haven't got to worry about anything else. That's it. If you don't have the mains plugged in, you have to use gas. The 12 volt at the bottom, the reason I didn't say that you have to use 12 volt or gas, is because the 12 volt is just for when your engine's running, and it's just for keeping the temperature inside the fridge whilst you drive. Okay, so what I mean by that is, the 12 volt on all motorhome fridges is not powerful enough to get the fridge cold by itself. So you have to pre-cool the fridge before you leave and select 12 volt for when you drive. The 12 volt literally just holds the temperature inside the fridge when you're driving until you get to where you're going and you switch back over to one of the other two. Okay, so that is the way that you have to use these fridges. Now, I will also say that, again, same with all motorhome fridges, it will take a good 3 hours or so to get completely cold on the gas or the mains. So just bear that in mind. So if you're going to go away on holiday tomorrow morning, you either have to come out a good few hours before you leave and turn the fridge on, or leave it on overnight before you leave. So that's the fridge, nice and easy. As I said, up here we've got your TV locker. All right, so you can pop a TV on here and it will slide out and move around if you want it to. Up into the corner, you have got your TV aerial booster, which is up the top there. And that'll basically just work by pressing the button on the top left hand side of it. You've then got below that a couple of bits. So you've got a 12 volt socket up there. You've also got a mains socket at the bottom, so you can actually, the majority of motorhome TVs will have the option of 12 volt or mains electric, so that you can use it when you're wild camping or when you're on hookup. So that's why you've got those two switches in there, so you can plug it in on either. But yeah, there you go. So, I'll just close this little cupboard up now. So behind me, the kitchen area, as I said, you've got a hot and cold tap just here for the sink, which I'll just run through in a bit more detail in a minute. And you've got your 3-burner hob. Now the 3-burner hob does not have an ignition, so you do need some sort of a long reach lighter or something to light any one of these up, but it is literally a case of push in and round to the left on whichever one you want to light up with your ignition to light them up. Tells you which one does what burner as well, so this one's for that one, this one's for that one, and so on. So you can't really go too far wrong with that. The only thing I generally say about the cookers is that you need to make sure that you allow these to cool down before you put the lid back down. I can pretty much guarantee that if you put the lid down straight after turning one of these off, this glass lid will shatter. I mean, they are made to, you know, be able to get hot, but not too hot. So just bear that in mind. Allow this to cool down before you put the lid down. It's easy enough. So the hot and cold tap, the reason I say, you might think to yourself, well, it's a hot and cold tap, you don't need to explain that. You'd be right in the sense that, yes, it is just a hot and cold tap, but there is also something else you need to know about. So the boiler towards the back here underneath the bed, which is just down there at the back. I'll show you a bit more about that in a minute. But the boiler itself, you need to make sure that it's actually full up of water before you try and use it. So what I'm about to explain to you is only really relevant if you're going to be using the hot water. So let's just say you come into the van for the first time and you want, or for, you know, when you want to go out and use the van, basically. You come into the van and you want to get your water hot, and you know that when you go away on holiday, you're going to want to use the hot water. What you need to do is, and the way to make sure that the boiler is full up, is to literally, I mean, it's not going to work for me right now because I haven't got any water in the tank. But what you need to do is turn your power on at the control panel and lift the tap up. So you need to lift it up on the hot side. Got a little bit of residual water there. And then turn it around to the cold. And switch it off. So, doing what I've just done there and seeing that you've got hot water coming through the hot side of the tap, or you've got water coming through the hot side of the tap, and it's not coughing and spluttering and going all over you and making a mess, proves to you that there is not any air inside the boiler at all. If when you turn the tap on the hot side, it starts coughing and spluttering and not really any water's coming out, it means that it's not something to worry about. It just means that the boiler isn't full of water yet. So, to fill the boiler up with water, first thing you need to check, if I just jump in here, the beauty of this bed area is that you can lift it up and actually stand inside here and get to it really easily. So just turn this light on so we can see. So, down here next door to the boiler, if I just zoom in a touch, we've got this little red funny looking box here. So you've got another little red tab at the back, that's another pipe drain. So if you are going to winterize the van, you need to lift that red tab upright so that it drains all the water out from the pipes. But the actual drain that we're looking at is this one here, the red one with a little bit in the top. So that is your actual boiler drain off point, and what it will do is it will get to a certain temperature inside the van. So if it gets down to about 3 degrees inside the van, it will drain all of the water out from inside the boiler by pushing itself in or down. Okay, so if you come to the boiler here and just have a little look at this and make sure it's upright, which it is now, then you can know for a fact that the boiler drain is closed. So that's what it tells you on that little symbol there. So if the boiler drain is closed by being lifted up, then that means that the boiler is going to accept water and not drain it out onto the floor. So if we know that the boiler drain is open, the boiler drain is upright, and so it's closed, we can then, if I just zoom back out, so we know the boiler drain is in its closed position, so it's pulled upright. We can then come back over to the sink, and if we're still getting, you know, air and stuff coming out through the hot side of the tap, you just leave the tap open on the hot side. Leave it open on the hot side, and what it will do is it will purge any air out of the boiler, all right, and fill it right up to the top with 10 litres of water. So what will then happen is, once it is full and all that air has come out of the boiler, this is the sort of flow that you'll get. Okay, just for an example, purely because we're in this sort of lucky situation here, I'm just going to let the water come through on the hot side, and what will happen is it will start to cough and splutter, just so that you can see what it will look like if the boiler isn't quite full. So if I just do that now. Just using the last of the water out, and then as the boiler starts to get empty, you'll see Bit more water in there than I thought. Well, I ended up wasting too much time. But basically what I was trying to say was, you know, once the boiler isn't quite full yet, you won't get that sort of flow coming out. What you saw just there is the perfect flow coming through. There's no coughing, no spluttering. So by doing that on the hot side of the tap, by seeing that water coming through like it just was there, that means that the boiler is 100% full. Once you've checked that the boiler is full, just by doing what I've done there, you can go ahead and use the boiler however you want to. You haven't got to worry about checking that at all. But the reason that I like to mention all that is that when it does come to winter and you want to drain all the water out from everything, you have to go to the back of the van there, push down that boiler drain and lift up the little red tab next door to it, and that will then fully winterize the boiler system. You would then also need to draw all of the water through there, drain it out through the waste tank, all that sort of stuff, and make sure that everything's empty like that. But yeah, I'd like to mention all that sort of stuff just so that you don't get caught out. The thing is, if you don't do that, if you don't drain the water out from the boiler and it freezes inside of it, you're going to be spending a good few grand on a new boiler. So it is really important to know that. Right, what was I going to show you next? So you've got the oven down here. The oven is literally just a case of you need to put an ignition down there whilst you push in and round on the to the left on the valve there. So again, I very rarely actually explain any of that because it's very straightforward. So next thing I need to explain is the boiler. So the boiler itself is a Trumatic C boiler. Stands for Trumatic Combi. Doesn't mean that you get instant hot water like you would at home. But what it does mean is that you get the option of heating, hot water, or both at the same time. So assuming that you've checked that the boiler has got water in it, like I've just shown you there, you can use the boiler for the hot water. So let's just say, for example, we want hot water only. Okay, so this is the sort of thing that you might do in the summer. You don't want the heating on, but you do want some hot water for a shower or whatever. You would then go up 1 or up 2 on this little gauge here, and that will then be selecting either 40 or 60 degrees of hot water. So that is your hot water only function going up. Back to the middle, turns the boiler off completely. If I go down 1, that is our heating only. Okay, so that's your winter setting if you don't want hot water. And if I go down twice, it gives us heating and hot water at the same time. So for the time being, just for example, it's quite a cold day today. Let's just say, for example, I might want the heating and the hot water to come on because I might want to shower and I want the heating to come on inside the van. So I'm going to go right the way down to the bottom here to the 60 and the flame symbol, and that is going to be giving us both heating and hot water. All right. So you will hear a few noises like that from the boiler. That's just the, allowing the gas to come through. But that's it. That is really all you need to know about the boiler. Super, super easy. So last thing to run through, I think, is going to be the bathroom. So again, you've got nice LEDs in here. They probably don't look particularly bright right now because we're right underneath a massive, great big light outside in the showroom. So that's why they don't look very bright. But normal day-to-day situations at night and all that's going to be very bright. So that is fine. So hot and cold tap for the sink. Again, it's literally just as simple as you might think. Hot and cold, left and right. Only other thing I will just mention briefly is that if you find that you are getting lots of coughing and spluttering coming through that tap there, but it won't go away, it is really important to come through and just purge this tap as well. And actually even the shower as well. If you still can't get any, if you're still not getting it to come through nicely, purge through on all of the taps inside the van, even the toilet actually, just to remove any air that might be in the system. But yeah, it's literally just hot and cold tap there for the sink. The toilet, the top here will move to wherever you want it to go to. And you've literally got a blue button over here to the right, which will pump around your flush fluid. You've then got, over on the left-hand side, you've got a little grey handle which you pull towards you to drain into the cassette, and then push this back. And that is literally the entire process of using the toilet. Super easy. Shower at the back. Again, self-explanatory. You've literally just got an on and off down here. And it's nice to have a nice little separate shower because it means that the rest of the bathroom doesn't get wet every time you use it. So there you go. Light switches just down here. Nice and straightforward. So you can pull the mattress back like so. And that is it. So I think I've covered everything. I don't think there's anything else I've missed out. But if you just give us a shout if you think there is, or if there's anything you want going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.